These posts and hymns are part of what I've called the Adullam's Cave Music Project. And at 70 years of age, it may well be one of the last projects in my own life's journey. In the last post, I explained that what lies behind the project is one thing above all else, something I discovered in a book by A.W. Tozer called The Pursuit of God. In my own spiritual journey, the possibility of doing this opened up to me when I was a student, and I hope by the grace of God to keep pursuing him as long as my journey on earth lasts and until he calls me home. I mentioned that to pursue him, it is necessary to actually go backwards, back to place ourselves under the influence of people whose lives were not only marked by the pursuit of God, but were dominated by this one thing, the pursuit of God. To know him in experience and to have a thirst and a longing to know him more in each of the persons of the Trinity, the person of the Father, the person of the Son, and the person of the Holy Spirit. One place where we find these kind of people is in the hymn books, and of course the Psalms, which are the supreme hymn book of the Church. One of the greatest tragedies in the Church today is how few Christians use a hymn book in their own personal life or in churches. In fact, hymn books are becoming so rarely used for public worship that many Christians now may be unlikely to have one, much less use one in their worship. And worse still, there are a growing number of Christians who will not even know what a hymn book is. To use a modern parallel, hymn books have been in lockdown for some years, and at least a couple of generations have become socially isolated from them. In other words, they may have one, but they are rarely, if ever, used. I'm going to follow this thought up a bit tomorrow, but today's hymn was written in the 18th century by Charles Wesley, and is about the pursuit of what Paul called knowing the length and breadth and height and depth of the love of Christ and being filled with the fullness of God. Paul wasn't praying that they would know about the love of Christ, but they would know the love of Christ filling their hearts. And Wesley takes Mary as his example and as the example that Jesus presents to his church through all generations. In a previous post, I was saying that to know this love of Jesus in a direct and personal way takes time, patience, and, to use a current word, isolation. Isolation from the countless distractions that prevent us from waiting on God for him to reveal himself to us. Distractions that our senses crave to see, to feel, to experience, to be stimulated and occupied by something in the external world. Martha was distracted by providing hospitality for Jesus and the disciples. And I suspect she was the kind of person, something like myself, who liked to be busy all the time, or at least feel responsible to be busy. She resented Mary sitting at Jesus' feet and taking time out to behold the King in his beauty and to listen to what he wanted to say to her and to the disciples. Of course, Martha could have asked later, what did Jesus talk about? But Mary wanted to hear him for herself. And more than this, she wanted to experience being in his presence. What Jesus said may seem a bit hard on Martha, but this was only because of what he saw to be at stake. Many things were distracting Martha from him. But Mary had made the better choice. And this is the theme of Wesley's hymn. Because to pursue the knowledge of the love of Jesus is, in Wesley's words, to know something of heaven coming down to earth. My only care, delight, and bliss, my joy, my heaven on earth be this, to hear the bridegroom's voice. These are the words of a heart that is pursuing God. O love divine, how sweet you are. Jesus, when shall my willing heart filled with your fullness be? I thirst, I faint, I long to prove the greatness of redeeming love, the love of Christ to me. Stronger his love than death and hell. Its riches are unsearchable, the firstborn sons of light desire in vain its depths to see. They cannot reach the mystery, the length and breadth and height. God only knows the love of God. Oh, that it now were shed abroad in this poor stony heart. For love I sigh, for love I pine. Lord, may this portion now be mine. Be mine this better part. Oh, that I could forever sit like Mary at the Master's feet. Be this my happy choice, my only care, delight and bliss, my joy, my heaven on earth be this.